the junior school teachers like, oh, I hear he's doing really well in this senior school. Like they all continue to be engaged, not just at the time, but in the future. And they're so interested in the kids. They're so interested in they're interested in being a team with the family.
I'm Agnes Stowicki, Managing Editor with Our Kids. We're speaking with insiders from Canada's leading private and independent schools to bring you insights into school programs, culture, traditions, and leadership. This includes insights from parents, alumni, and administration. This is the Our Kids Insider Perspective.
So we chose it. Number one, we wanted a school that sort of met the needs of our children, which were they needed some like extra attention. Um, I think the second piece was that my eldest child was, I think, challenged in the school that she has in terms of didn't quite fit in, but she was smart, but she just needed some extra support, um and needed a place that was like she was what I mean extra, it's like an extra sort of a little emotional support, I think. And I was looking for a school that had some innovation, like in education, and wasn't just I would say uh, focused on the dogma of the past. And then we spoke to families that had I spoke to another family that had been to it. And then lastly, my my wife's aunt and uncle are in the private school system in British Columbia. And they said that they had seen that school sort of evolve and said it's got an excellent sort of small school reputation, but with excellence, with leadership. So we went to a open house, we toured it, and the first thing we noticed was the students in the junior school being so incredibly polite and like opening doors for people and thoughtful, where the school that she was at previously, it was just like a free-for-all. And it was overcrowded and students were in the hallway learning, and students really didn't care about each other. But what really came across in the school, the moment we walked in, was the students cared for each other and they respected the adults that were there. And it was calm. Like it was very calm. Like people were walking around. It was it was for a junior school at the time, orderly. And whereas we were in a public school before that she transferred into, the previous public school was fine, but it just was seeing very chaotic, kids running around, uh, I think just so that, and then we spoke to the teachers, and then we applied, and there was a spot open halfway through the year because we applied late because my daughter had transferred schools because her school only went to grade 5 and then transferred in grade 6. And at that point, we got in halfway through the year. We said, we'll just take it. And so I think the moment she got there, everyone was very welcoming, making sure she fit in, and just was fantastic. Her greatest disappointment was that they didn't have the high school ready for her, but my son did. And so he's the first class in the grade. He just finished grade 11. So he's the first class. And so he was this initial class to go into the high school. So the first grade 9 class and sort of the pioneer grade, and taking a bit of a chance. But it's that decision to go into the high school has been unbelievably great for him. And I think one of the attributes of that I tell parents when they ask me, because they get asked, why would you go to the school or what was it? every single staff member of the school has mental health training, not just first aid training. And when I talked to the staff, I talked to the headmaster, I asked him a question: how often do you use first aid training in the school? When you use your first aid training? And they said, well, maybe once every, week or something like that, And how I said, how often do you use your mental health training? Every teacher uses it every day. And I think that really helps, address problems early, and really makes the teachers very understanding. And it's a collaborative approach for issues that come up and to meet children's needs. They responded very well. My daughter really had some challenges, just some mental health issues, and being as a teen, just starting through puberty and all that sort of stuff. And then then it went to grade 8, and then she left the school to another private school, all girls school, which just the stark contrast, I think, really highlighted that it was like what a great environment she was in, and the other environment much more just focused more on marks. And they say that they have mental health and all that to help students, but I think it's more talk than reality. And so, but my son, like, he was in grade 6 and 7 for COVID and remote work. And I think he had some challenges wanting to go back to school because of scared and all that because of the transition out of COVID. And so the staff worked really hard to transition him back into the school, and we did too, and it did. And he has just flourished. Like he's not the, the top athlete. He's not the smartest guy there, in any program, but he's kind of entrepreneurial and finds his own way, and they've been supporting that, and he's just grown and become much more independent, and he's like really come into his own. And I think they focus so much on getting kids ready to learn, not just the learning. So they figure once you are ready to learn, they'll just learn. And so they've really focused on him trying to find stuff that's of interest that he wanted to do as part of his big projects and incorporating that into the lessons of the school. And the stuff he's been doing and doing on his own without me asking or anything like that has been incredible. He's showing a lot of independence, and he's really, really taken on a lot of what stuff is going on at the school. And I think I asked him, like, he talked to being at his friends at a public school or other schools or like other private schools. And he's like, I wouldn't do as well because I would be lost in the top, jocks or spocks or whatever you want to call them when I was in high school, smart kids, and they'd be focused on that. Or in other schools, a lot of teachers just try and manage the classroom because it's chaotic. And he's been given great opportunities. Like he said, he was interested in running sort of the cafe, and so he's done that, and he's helped trying. They told him he wanted them to buy a point of sale system, so they denied that because they didn't want to spend the money. So he built one, and they encouraged that, and then he didn't work, so he made one out of Google Sheets, and then they've been working with him to help improve it, and then they let him report to finance all the numbers every month, and so he's working with the finance department, and just great opportunities that they've really embraced the students and helping them get to where they want to go. And I think that's, that encouragement and that belief in the children and students, and allowing them to do leadership and allowing them to take risks and may not work. And allowing them, and they do say no on stuff, but they allow them to figure out ways around the issue. They said, like for that point of sale system, it was no to buying the system. It's not no to doing it. It's just that we didn't, and they had rationale for it. But when he found his way around the second or third time, they supported him. The teachers supported him and, helped develop it. And so that's kind of how he's flourished. So I think they appreciate that. Um, I think I'm just trying to rank it a bit. They appreciate that they are given opportunities to lead, or try things out. They appreciate that when they're not interested in something, which is, happens at school, they try and find a way to make it interesting and try and engage you. And the teachers work together. Like, so my son had a topic he wanted to work on. And both the psychology and English teachers worked together so that they could have a similar topic but take different angles on it for their classes, um, and guide him. I think they appreciate that when they declare an interest, they really lean into it, and give the students ideas and support them, and even incorporate what the students are doing in running part of the school, and I think they really celebrate, everybody's differences, not just like in terms of interests. And so, I think we had our closing ceremonies, and one of the younger grade 9 students, and 10 students made videos, extremely high quality videos, of fun closing things, and they let the students run with it and work with the teachers, and they were all participating. And I think the other thing I think they appreciate is it's a small school, so there's lots of low student teacher ratio. So lots of teachers per student. But I think the other piece is that what I've noticed is the students or the staff encourage the students, I think, to help each other at various grades. And there's like a lot of interaction and positive interactions between the various grades, where I know some schools it's very like class driven, like you're in grade 8 and you're in grade 9. And I think there's a lot of respect and a lot of respect for even helping out the junior school kids, even though they're on different campus. I think that they also appreciate where they are getting out of the school. Like they do quite a bit of like I think they go out and learn about the city as part of their lesson plans. So they go out of the classroom quite a bit in groups, and so they give the kids a lot of responsibility, I believe. Doesn't always work out, but that's okay. And that's a learning moment for them, and they truly believe that. So I think that's what they do, they do appreciate. As a parent, this I so I look at how I went to school and what I learned, and then what I learned today, or how I am in the workforce today. And it's quite different. And I don't know. I know that there's been a radical shift in how we work in the future. Whereas, you had doctors and lawyers and stuff before, it was very defined, and now it's very ill-defined. And so what I appreciate about the school is that their focus is not about churning out like the top 99 percentile student based on marks. Their focus is just trying to get students to be engaged and find their own way and do it themselves, and not have parents overlooking them. And I think that's what the future is. And I recognize that a lot of parents, it's a huge investment to put your child through school, and it's a huge risk to do something that you're not going to see the payoff 20 years from now, because you don't know what's going to happen. And that's why parents are so, and I totally, like, my parent, you're so anxious about, are they getting the great marks? Are they getting this or that? Because you think that's the proxy for how they'll do in the future. It's not. Having been through top schools and seen top students, and what's the proxy for the future right now is that if something doesn't work, they'll figure it out. not going to be there for them. And if they're not interested, they're not going to do it. And I think so I think that's really when I look at my students and why, like, look my kid and where he wants to go, and I have a lot of confidence in him because of the school. And that confidence is not blind confidence that because I'm sitting over him, it's I'm actually not putting, and he probably would do better if I was just, on him every day or something, but that's not life. And so I want him to find his own way. I want him to be interested himself. And so, for example, he had taken this, he really wanted to be a pilot. And so that was being incorporated into his curriculum stuff. And for a medical reason, he went, did the medical, we went, did it. He drove that forward. He was unable to do that. And I think which would have been a very big disappointment for something that he wanted for many years. And we had been flying already some test flights with people and stuff. He shifted his focus very quickly onto something else and just put it behind him because he just knew there would be something else. And I think I attribute part of that to the school, and so he's now interested in computers and computer science, and the school's leaning into that and supporting him, and that's kind of life. You're going to have setbacks and you're going to have disappointments, and things are out of your control. You can choose to be upset about it, or you can choose to tackle the next thing. And I think that's what gives me a lot of confidence in him because of the way they've designed their curriculum and the way they've approached teaching. Like, you can learn anything you want in 10 seconds. Just Google it. But it's, yeah, how do you present? How do you think about? And I think the other thing is they have some very good partnerships. Like, for example, the Knowledge Society, which is this group in Toronto, which he goes on Sundays to, it's entrepreneurship. They learn about technologies. And again, that focus is on the student. They specifically don't want the parents to be involved. And they learn about different things, and they've got projects they're pitching to like Facebook and Google, and so that's the level at which they're trying to compete globally now. Um, and they're well mannered, like they're not like arrogant. They're well mannered. They're thoughtful and finding their own way. Like that's and the curriculum is just kind of like the bonus. My son's been to two different senior school campuses. We had a temporary campus in his first year, and just now the existing one. And they were behind on construction, so they living through construction and stuff like that. It's not surprising, but I think in this particular class, in general, how well everybody's sort of handling challenges and adversity. Like you're living in a construction site, and I think what's really not surprising, but it's just a reminder, is it's not about the building. They could be taught anywhere. It's just really about how they're taught and where they go. And I think that's I'm surprised that there's not more students there at the moment, but they're new. For the senior school, the junior school is totally packed. Um, and it's kind of just tucked away, like it's not doesn't have like this big, you know, presence of, we've been I don't want to say it's still kind of like it's private school, but it doesn't have that sort of St. Michael's or anything. Like, we have a big campus and we have this and that. It's just more down to earth, I would say. Anyways, yeah.
Their focus is on the teaching, not the facade and the buildings and stuff. It's not showy, but it
It's not
shows
showy. They
that
did put effing, like, in their senior school, it's thoughtful, and it looks beautiful. But it's also there for like design for purpose of learning. And they've won design awards for it, international design awards for it. And I think I think when even when you talk, like, think about when they talk about the design of the school, the senior school in particular, not the junior school, because that's like that's been built out more, but I think it's really thoughtful of how they've done it for education, the setup of it, the decisions that were made. Um, Even with regard to things like safety, like there's a universal washroom, which every bathroom stall has its own contained space, and the staff and students use it because it's even in public school, in other schools like public schools, washrooms are even a safety issue, right? And so, which I've heard in even ones near us, and that's just an example of thinking about, okay, here's children's safety, but also, like, yes, adults and students are going in and out, and it's like everyone's treated equally, right? There's no sort of gender thing or anything like that. They're just, you are who you are. And I've never heard anyone sort of complain about it or comment about it. They look nice, and it's just sort of like, it's just a lot. And there are three school rules, which are pretty basic, but they follow with respect, manners, and try your best. Um, I think are continually reinforced, and you just notice that when you're in there in all aspects of the school, even from the design of the building to the staff to the students and their how they behave. Well, I think those three are really those three rules are respect, manners, try your best. There's a number of other things, but they really put those into practice. Everybody's respected, you know. Um, and obviously with kids, the problems come up and that sort of thing, and you get a variety of parents and what have you, but everyone's expected to try, and I think it's not about necessarily succeeding, but trying your best, and let's figure a way to make it happen. And from that initial first time we walked in the door on a school tour, that respect and manners just was like so evident. And um, and I think that um, kids are encouraged, and they're not, like, I think, degraded into like, oh, you didn't try very hard, or you know kids will dog it, whatever. But I think that they always come from a place of acceptance and trying to get the most out of kids, in a positive way. And by doing those three rules, and the award ceremonies are like that, like they're based on that. Everybody knows it, all the parents know it, it's pretty basic. And I think coming in today's society where respect seems to be challenged, and manners from political leaders or whomever leadership seems to be challenged. I think that's something that um, is highly encouraged and is evident. So I think that from the staff to the admin people, I think even when they're addressing parents, they're like, hey, remember, you know, manners, respect. That's those, like, let's show that, let's demonstrate that, because I think parents and kids and whomever, sometimes doesn't always happen. Um, they just remind people of that. And I think there's a lot of compassion there too. And I think that's important. Yeah. So a typical family is a family that is they're obviously have wealthy enough, I'll put that, or have set aside enough money to send their kids there. So that is demographically a family that has enough income to support that. I think that the family there is typically focused on making sure their children are successful. I think typically professional families there, but they are a variety of things. They could be in arts or science or medicine or law, whatever. There's a variety of families, backgrounds there. Demographically, I think that, I think it's becoming much more representative of the community as it's evolving, especially in the junior school. And I think in the senior school, I think that is perhaps less the case, but I think it's just because of time and a bunch of things. I'd say the typical family, if they have children I think they're focused on their kids being all around kids, and if they're excellent in one area, like they're an athlete or they're like want to be on the provincial team, it's not necessarily the school. It's not the school for everybody, right? I think it's the school for more, like if you want to be on the, if you have a specific focus, whether it's athletics or arts or science, you may choose to go to a different school, or you may choose to have those activities occur outside the school. So I think, and I think it would be, I think it would be important to acknowledge that, like, if your child or if you're a family that's driving towards a very specific goal, like, as I said, I don't, they were either, you need to achieve those things outside of your, outside of the school. But if your family is if looking at creating well-rounded children that are going to try and hit their potential, whatever that is, that's what, in a nice environment, that's what this is about. But if you think your child's going to be like the next Einstein or whatever, you may want, that's need someone that works a different enrichment. So, and that's what I mean, sort of that, I would say families that are trying to think of more of a balanced approach would be my take. I think the families typically are they're in a community and they're accepting of all the other families. Um, but it's a professional type demographic, I would say. Yeah. I think my son, I'm proud of, just, I would say, because in the senior school, I think there's more opportunities to demonstrate maybe some individuality or something, like I would say, as you get older. I think I'm proud of his management. He showed some interest in grade 9 of ordering food in for everybody. Like everyone would pool and they would vote, and he managed that. And that sort of morphed into, when the cafe was available, running the cafe and doing the accounting and all that sort of stuff. And that whole management piece, I'm proud of him for that, because it just evolved. And it's not like he said, I need to be a leader. It just was one of those scenarios where he was interested. It kept on building and just doing it outside of school. And he was providing feedback and working with the other departments at the school and other students. So he's managing students now and as a part of it. So I'm proud of him for organically learning about and taking that on, and the staff sort of and working with the other students and in a collaborative way, and learning how to manage, because you want something done and manage your time. And so I think that's I'm proud of it. Yeah, there's lots of things, but I think that would be an example that I'm outside of like the curriculum or outside of the classroom work. I'm proud of him for organically sort of that evolving, and I think people looking to him and to help continue to expand on that. So I'll take teachers first and then administration, I think, you know, the teachers are fantastic. They really care about the children, and every single one of them in our entire time there. And I think they're extremely responsive. Like my previous school, my daughter was having some challenges, and we like have to book a meeting, and maybe we'll get to it next week, and this and that. And because they all have at the junior school and they all have laptops, so like they're in class and we get emails from our kids, or something. My daughter's like, I'm having a challenge right now or something. We email the teacher. She happened to be able to see it within an hour. She obviously then she went to speak to learning strategies people. They were on top of it within 2 hours. They'd already had a plan in place and it was addressed. And this is an example of how much they care about the students and how much they want to, early intervention so the problems don't get worse. Um, and so when you go back, like to school, my daughter went back, or they ask about. I see them like, how's Madeline, or where's she now? What's she doing? With Laird, they're like, my son. The junior school teachers like, oh, I heard he's doing really well in this senior school. Like they all continue to be engaged, not just at the time, but in the future. And they're so interested in the kids. They're so interested they're interested in being a team with the family. Like I think if the school feels like it's not all our responsibility, right? We have your kids for a period of time. You have to deal with them at home. And I think the more the families view it as a partnership, and the more the school can help get you through that. But if families don't view it as like, they're just like, hey, you go deal with my kid, right? I don't think it's as successful. And the teachers want to view it as a partnership. So I think it's collaborative. They care about the students a lot. They care about their well-being. And they're really, I would say, highly engaged in the success of the students, um, and trying to make them help them get to where they want to be as an individual. They see the students as individuals, and their commentary around the students. And when you talk to them at parent-teacher nights, it's all very specific information about your student. If you have an issue, they're willing to talk about it immediately. And the administration, that was your second part, sorry. Again, I think that the administration, they've all been teachers. They were all practical teachers at the school, sort of thing, almost all of them, except for most of them. They know all about the families. They know about the students. They understand where the families are coming from. You can pick up the phone and talk to them very quickly. And again, the administration is, respect minors and try your best. They preach, they do what they preach as well. They're all very respectful, compassionate, understanding. The more you tell them what's going on in the family, I would say, like other siblings, even whatever, the more that they're willing to help and not sort of just that more that they are there to be a positive force. When we first got there, the junior school headmaster stand at the door every morning greeting every kid as he walks in the door, and knows every child's name, and usually at the end of the day saying goodbye to them. And in the junior school, and I think that sets a tone. It's not there all the time, of course, but if he's able to do it, he'll do it. And in the morning, he's there greeting kids, saying, joking with kids, wearing his Toronto Maple Leafs jersey, having fun. And I think that they don't take themselves too seriously. You know, I think that helps. And I think that um and you can go to any one of them at any time, you know, and whether it's admin or staff, if you say something in confidence, it will remain in confidence. Um, if you're asking for help, they'll, you know, they'll provide help. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the first reason is that, you know, there's lots of reasons, but I think the first reason is that um, they're trying to prepare your child for what our actual future looks like. Without parents, you know, and without parents being there, you know, and entering the workforce. It's a very dynamic workforce, and you have to find your own way. Um, and I think that they're truly trying to tackle issues that are getting in the way of that. Mental health, um, interest in learning, uh, as well as there's lots of other distractions right now to prevent them from learning. You know, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. I'd say that's the first reason. I'd say the second reason is they really do care about the child's success. And I don't think they would be teaching the way they're teaching or doing what they're doing or designing the school the way they designed it without the first thing being the child's success in mind. And I truly believe that. They're just not there to pick up a paycheck. They're there because they want their students to be truly successful. And they don't have to be successful today. Like at this test or this thing, they're setting them up for success. They're playing the long game with the kids. They're not playing the short game. They're playing the long game. They're playing the game. They're setting the school up for kids to be successful for their future, not for their next test. And they can get good marks on a test. That's great. But where are they going to be next in 10 years? And are they going to make good choices? Are they helping make students make good choices in life? And I think they are, you know, and they're trying to do that. They're trying to help kids make appropriate choices for them. You know, a lot of every kid is different. A lot of schools talk about that, but I think a lot of schools focus on teaching and approaching students like before the internet. Like, I'll be exact, you know, and everyone's like, "Oh, use the internet because like do research." No, like the world has changed, and there's no going back, and that's the risk. You know, I think I would also say is that we ask students to take responsible risks and to do, and you ask you want your kids to take responsible risks. And in medicine, you want evidence-based healthcare. You're not just doing healthcare based on 40 years ago. You want the latest research to help drive what's going to be successful outcome. Education should be the same. What's the evidence? Are you using the latest information based on the environment today to give your child the highest probability of success in the future? And I think that's the risk parents have to take because the payoff is not today, the payoff's not tomorrow, the payoff's in 20 years. And that's the risk. And you can stick with the tried and true, which worked 20 years ago, and think we're in the same environment we are today. Or you can weigh your options and say, I'm going with the school that has designed an education program based on latest research that supports kids in probably the biggest challenge we have today in youth is mental health. I can't think of a bigger challenge, and motivation, because they're all every adult and child is so distracted with their phone and all that stuff. Is how do you build motivation to actually do something on your own? And I think those are the reasons. I would give different advice for the junior school versus the senior school. I would give the junior school advice would be to just focus on your kid having a great experience. I wouldn't focus on marks. I wouldn't focus on every test score. I'd just focus on how are they feeling about going to school and how do they and their level of engagement and be engaged with the teachers and the family. It's a team effort. And you have just as much responsibility to make sure that your child is ready to go to school the next day as the staff have, making sure that they want to come back. And that's not doing a lot of homework. That's providing a nice environment at home that they can relax and they can get ready to learn the next day. You know, yes, there'll be some homework, but it's not like driving them to. It's about the junior school is about setting up habits for the future of wanting to learn. And that's a really hard thing for parents to appreciate. If children get derailed mentally through mental health or bad social interactions or whatever at a young age, it's hard to get them back. And you got to work hard at it. And so keep like, you know, I'd say for the senior school, it's slightly different, is really focus on what's of interest to your child and how can you utilize that to build, let them flourish on their own and let them fail, but in a protected environment. They're going to trip, they're going to fall, and every year they should have just a little more independence and I'll give you an example. So when my son, we had to declare an interest, and he said, "Oh, I want to do flying." I was like, "Oh, well, I knew you kind of want to do it, but like, this is what you want to do, like, as your main interest from grade 9 to grade 12?" He said, "Yes." Okay. Okay, so how serious is? And I'm like, I didn't say how serious is because okay, that's what you're gonna do. So then I supported it by arranged a flying lesson for an hour where he was in a plane. We bought him a flight simulator thing for his computer. And I wouldn't have done any of that had he not said, I need to declare something, and he declared something, and we leaned into it. Okay. Because I wouldn't know how serious it was. Like, kids change their mind all the time. And because he had to declare something, so he had to think about it, we had to hear it, and then and then I said, okay, well, let's support it. And let's make sure it's what you want to do. And how are we going to do that? And I support, we did 2 lessons. And it wasn't that, it was not expensive, but it was, and so then a number of things happened. The school knew we were serious. The school knew we were a partner now. When they came back and I said, here's the thing, we took some photos, here's the experience. My child knew that I supported him and his interest, and we were engaged. And so he got engaged. And everybody, again, the team came together and said, okay, you've declared the interest, you've supported your child's leaning into it. And so, for example, he hates art. He absolutely hated art. He refused to do art. His art project, he wrote, I hate art. So yeah, that's art. But after he declared this, the art teacher said, well, why don't you draw the inside of a plane, a cockpit? Let's do that. That's your interest. All the teachers like, this is your interest. And that was his first art project he actually enjoyed and did and worked at ever. So what I would say to the parents is lean into it, let them explore, support them. My son's texted me. He's like, "Hey, can you come talk to the school about, entrepreneurship, whatever?" I'm like, "Sure." Because can you come today? I'm like, "Well, I happen to be working at home." I said, "Sure." And the teacher's like, "Okay, you're coming in. Here's a talk." Because I've given talks, and they appreciate the parents coming in and talking and being supportive of the students. So be engaged in how your child wants you to be engaged. Don't barge in and say, "I'm going to give a talk at your school." No, wait, be respectful. And I maybe have a little bit of a different perspective than other parents. My background of I've studied I had a PhD in neuroscience. I studied brain development. I used to, and I think about how people learn and all that sort of stuff. And so, um, but I really encourage parents um, to think about um, what the actual future looks like, not the future that looked like when they were in high school. I think it's quite different. And really think about, um, their kid's going to come up with a lot of adversity, and you want them in an environment where they can be safe, be respected, and make choices that hopefully end up being good choices, but that they're choices. Every school is a community. And I think the school has tried to foster a community that is everything I said. And I think that um, uh, I think they're at the cusp of, I would say that right now, this high school, there's a lot of, I would say people have uncertain, there's different types of people, different types of families. And I think some families are um, risk adverse. Some families are willing to take a risk. Some families takes risks based on, evidence and all that sort of thing. And I'd say that the school hasn't graduated its first class yet. Um, and a lot of people see that they're waiting to see what happens, right? They're waiting to see where they go. They're waiting to see what happens when they get to university, and they're waiting to see what happens, after that, I guess. And my only comment would be, what are you waiting for? like, like you have to, some of the best opportunities are you're going to have a kid you're going to have a situation where you're early in, but that's why you maybe get some big returns. And I think a number of schools are moving in their direction, but figure out what's right for your kid. And it's not as big of a, the fact that there's not a class that's graduated yet, I don't think is a big risk, because I see the students that are there now. And if you go just walk in the school like we did, you'll know within 30 seconds it's a different place. And so my parting comment would be, from the moment we walked in as on a tour many years ago till today, nothing's changed. Their values haven't changed. The kids haven't changed, even though they're in a senior school. Nothing's changed, except for the building and stuff. Lots has changed, but the core principles, the core attitude, the core approach, what the students are turning out to be, they're just older now because of senior school, hasn't changed. And I think that's a testament to the staff and the students and the community. And I think my last point would be, if you're thinking about, like, I want to wait to see what happens, I don't know what you're waiting for, because it's all there in the junior school. It's just continuing on the senior school, more so. And life moves faster than waiting to see what happens a decade from now.
For more information about this school, you can visit their profile at ourkids.net.